long time ago, I started a peace group. It was called World Peace One. It was aiming at world peace, a better world, but from the individual level. And over the years, I found that many people have problems with the word peace, and it just seemed impractical to a lot of people. Like, there will never be world peace. I used to hear that a lot. And I was automatically, and I think a lot of peace groups, they're branded as being unrealistic and idealistic. So over many years, I decided that there could be a better goal than world peace for humanity. And what I realized was that the word peace, the concept of world peace, had at least eight drawbacks. Let me go through them really quickly. First, it's too perfectionistic. It's too absolute. It's too harsh. It's too high a standard. One war, one conflict, you don't have world peace. Second, it's vague. Does it mean just no war? Or does it mean no conflict? Does it include ecological balance? Third, it causes conflict and long arguments, philosophical or religious arguments, because, do we mean a Christian world peace? Like, what's the end state going to be? Christian world peace, Muslim world peace, Buddhist, atheist, secular? So there are these interminable discussions. Fourth, there's no time frame. A good goal has a time frame. I'm going to jog 3 times this week. Okay, there's a set time. And you can say, I did the goal or I didn't. World peace is too open-ended. 5, there's little personal incentive to take action. The world is too huge. It just makes anything you do seem insignificant, so why bother? 6, total peace seems unnatural since some conflict in life is natural. It somehow seems sterile or unreal. People will always have different values, and so there will always be some conflict. World peace also has negative connotations of being boring. A perfect world would be boring, would be undramatic. We couldn't have fun. And number 8, people sort of forget that even if there's the end of armed conflict, there's always going to be people who have to mature. They start out immature, they make mistakes, they have to learn life's lessons, and they'll be causing suffering and damage, and so that's also going to prevent this sort of perfect world. A way that I've kind of thought about world peace that summarizes it for me is, imagine if when you first started school, like first grade, your parents said, Johnny, Jane, we expect straight A's all the way through school, or we consider that a failure, falling short. If you were Johnny or Jane, you would either feel bad every time, it would damage your self-esteem every time you made a B or a C or worse, or you would eventually start to hate your parents or reject the goal entirely and say they're just unrealistic people. And I think people feel the same way about peace groups and the idea of peace. At the end of each year, I used to feel bad. I used to think about the conflicts, the wars of that year, and I just get this feeling like there's never going to be world peace. Humanity, is always going to fail. We're losers. It's hopeless. And then I realized what I was just telling you, that the goal sort of reinforces failure. The goal, I think, helps perpetuate humanity's low self-esteem. And so I thought of an alternative goal that I think could boost humanity's self-esteem. It has 3 parts. Let me focus on the first part first. The main part is a 99% reduction in preventable suffering and death by the end of the century. That almost seems as impossible as world peace, but it would translate into about a 1.1% decrease in various forms of preventable suffering and death. So you could imagine a 1.1% decrease in malaria causing children's deaths, or a 1.1% decrease in dysentery, or 1.1% decrease in child abuse, or in accidental deaths, or in deaths from war or injuries from war or injuries, in car crashes or whatever. What's great is that is, you get a baseline and then you can measure progress or lack of progress. Okay, so then at the end of each year, if different groups would, they're already working on this and say, okay, we decreased malaria, we're winning in these and these such and such departments, but these other areas need more attention. So people could shift a little of their energy. So at the end of each year, we could celebrate what went right, we could celebrate the decrease in certain forms of suffering, and then that success would help inspire more effort in the areas that weren't working. Okay, obviously there has to be, it's not going to happen automatically, but the idea is that this goal, this alternative goal, makes things more, it reinforces success. Okay, there are two other parts to the goal. Some of those, like I'm thinking of picking 40 indicators, like the 40 or 50 main kinds of suffering, but you'd also need maybe 15 or 20 kinds of environmental degradation goals. So it's not just human suffering, but damage to the environment that would count, because obviously we need the natural environment for our long-term survival. So that's a second part of the goal. The third part of the goal would be individual peace, like an increase in your individual happiness. And I thought of an easy way, like if most people would pick maybe two goals that would increase their happiness each year, like it might be an exercise program, you might decide that you always wanted to learn the guitar or something like that. You learn two things each year, so at the end of each year, or some habit that would decrease your unhappiness or increase, or skill, that would be a way to feel an individual connection to this better world. Because if people on the other side of the world are being fed, but you're not changing, you're not going to feel part of this improving world. So those are the three parts of this goal. Now I came up with a name. I knew a few words of Japanese. Ai means harmony, Ai. Sakai means limit or border or frontier, Sakai. So Ai Sakai, which rhymes, would be the harmony frontier. I also means love in Chinese, for what it's worth. So that would be an alternative goal to world peace, and I think it would inspire a lot more action. It would help boost humanity's self-esteem if we made progress toward it. The other thing is that, if you made a $10 donation to an organization that fed children efficiently, or an organization that decreased, some childhood disease, at the end of the year you could feel like this personal connection, like I helped make the Ai Sakai possible, okay? Or if you volunteered, then you just feel like you're part of this better world. So that is a summary of the Ai Sakai, why I think world peace, which is a fine vision, but as a goal, I think it's counterproductive and it harms humanity's self-esteem. And that's why I think that this Ai Sakai goal, this alternative, would be much better for humanity. It would be an upgrade for humanity. Because, whether or not you believe in world peace, whether or not you believe it's possible, you still might be jaded. But I think at the end of each year, you still think about it, that here we are, we're failing again, we'll never measure up, etc. So rather than reinforce failure, let's celebrate and work towards specific success, which eventually, a 99% reduction would be in preventable suffering and death, would be a different world.